Okay guys, so in today's video we are going to be backtesting GBPUSD over the 2022 price action. This is the same strategy that we recently tested on Eurodollar over the 2022 price action, which got us these results. We had a 62% win rate using a mechanical 1-to-3 risk to reward system, the same system that I'm going to be walking you guys through in this video. A nice smooth equity curve as well with minimal drawdown periods, and like I said, mechanical 1-to-3 risk to reward system. This is also the same strategy that I used last week to pass another 100k funded account as well, and that's the same system we're going to be testing in today's video. So in the video, I'm going to be walking through the full trading plan and strategy for you guys, the full rule set with nothing left out, the risk management plan, and we're going to be doing around 40 minutes or so worth of backtesting. So let's not waste any more time. Let's hop over to the charts and let's get straight into it. All right, guys, so thanks for joining me here over on the charts. What we'll do is we will start off from a completely blank chart, and we will zoom out to the higher time frame as always and work our way down. So if you guys remember from last time, in terms of the higher time frame direction, it was pretty clear at this point in time in around July 2022. We had this very clear and textbook bearish market structure. As you can see, price was just continuously printing lower lows and lower highs in an overall bearish market, and there wasn't really anything to the left for price to react from. So in a situation like this, I'm just looking to follow this trend down. But what we observed in terms of the lower time frame was that price had kind of initiated this pullback phase, right? We had on the 4-hour time frame price shifting back bullish, came down just here, respected the imbalance, and then we had price create another move over to the upside, breaking structure once again. So if we just drop to the hourly and mark that on, one thing I always like to emphasize to the guys inside VIP is that when we're looking to identify potential trades, what we want to do is map on the current structure and also significantly draw on any of the previous areas that price has mitigated into. So for example, here you can see that price retraced into and mitigated this demand. We then had another break structure. Once again, price retraced back down, mitigated into this demand. This was the trade we caught at the end of last session. We've then had another break structure right here as well. So at the moment, price does seem to be intent on going higher. Probably because of the overall higher time frame direction, I would still view this as overall bearish, but we could definitely see price, for example, come up into one of these more premium areas on a daily time frame. The only thing I can see on daily here in terms of sells would be if price can make its way up into this area of supply up here. But for the time being, I would be looking to consider some longs up into that area, just based on the structure that price is presenting here. Now, in terms of actual points of interest at the moment, what time was this? This was 1 o'clock on Monday, so that's fine. Let's play price on. This would be my next point of interest that price has just tapped into. Essentially, with the points of interest, I'm looking in the current trading leg, so between the low and the high, and I'm looking for price to respect one of these areas of demand and continue higher from there. We also have this lower one as well. And for anybody that's unfamiliar with my system, I'm using the M5 for confirmations on all of my trade, and I only use the M5 on every single trade for the entries because this helps to make things as mechanical as possible. So for example, I'm not using the M3 or the M1, I'm always using the M5 time frame. And I'm simply waiting for an M5 change of character for price to flip back in line with that overall higher time frame direction. And then I'm looking to execute my trade based on that. Here, we don't really have any structure for an M5 change of character. There you go. So price did end up respecting that area, but we didn't get a confirmation, so there was no trade. Let's jump to London session the following day. Here in the UK, obviously Asia session is overnight, so I don't trade it. Right, we've now had another break structure. I am conscious of the fact that we do have some kind of equal lows resting below here as well. So price may want to come down and take that liquidity out before going higher. In terms of another point of interest we could look at though, if price doesn't want to come all the way down to this level, we could also monitor now that the Asia low has been taken out. You can see price has retraced into a discount. We've had Asia low taken. So if we can get a clear change of character here, I'll think about entering. But no, in this case, as you guys can see, it looks like price is going lower. What I would look for now would be most likely for price to take this low. You can see it kind of building liquidity there. Yeah, there we go. So price has now taken that low out. Previous higher time frame liquidity has been taken. And if we just jump to the 4-hour real quick. Yeah, so in terms of sells, I don't really see any reason why it would completely reverse from here. We also have, well, we have this area here. This is a valid point of interest, but we also have a 4-hour demand zone slightly below if price wants to tap into that. Both are valid points of interest, so let's pay attention to lower time frames here and let's see how price develops. Okay, so price has come into that lower POI. Let's monitor here. Okay, nice. So from this 4-hour point of interest, we've had our market shift in structure. This is what I'm looking for and waiting for an entry confirmation. Essentially, when price is in a bearish market like this, I'm waiting for it to tap into the point of interest, as it has done in this particular case. And then I'm looking for it to shift bullish back in line with higher time frame. The only other confluence I need to see is some imbalance created. Here you can see this imbalance created right here. And then I'm simply looking to enter on the imbalance. One of the things that I like to emphasize to the guys inside VIP as well is that I'm not looking to get like an ultra precise sniper entry, as some people call it, from the demand itself. I'm happy to enter anywhere on this whole imbalance. And this is going to help me to avoid missing more trades. Because most of the time when we're trying to be too precise, right, price is either going to miss us or it's just going to hit stop loss. And in terms of the TP, I always do a mechanical 1 to 3 take profit. This just helps to keep things as mechanical as possible and helps to reduce as much discretion as possible. So this is a valid trade. Let's see if price tags us in. Looks like it's got away from us here. I'm going to keep the limit for now because it's still technically a valid trade, and you could see this as like a liquidity above the zone. If it breaks the high again, I'm going to cancel the limit though. Yeah, there we go. So annoyingly, analysis played out perfectly, but price never pulled back for us. Okay, nice. But yeah, now I would essentially just look for price to continue up from here. I'm going to fast forward the Asia session. All right, so London opens. Ideally, what I would want to see here would be a retracement back down to at least grab Asia low for price to then come up towards the high. So let's see if we can get a retracement here at London open. Yeah, something like that. That would be quite nice. So we've now seen price take out Asia low. We've seen these lows from London taken as well. If it comes lower, I just want to be ready for another scenario. You can see price engineered these equal highs above as well. Let's see if it starts to shift bullish here. Again, using the M5 for entries. Yeah, there you go. So you can see price there created a lower low. We then got that shift higher. Price created a change of character. This is our entry confirmation right here. Now all I'm looking for is a pullback into the imbalance. In this particular case, we have this one. I wouldn't enter on this first one because I would see that as an inducement. You can see price kind of creating these relative equal lows. So entering on this, stops a little bit below the low, and mechanical 1 to 3 take profit as always. Let's see if this can tag us in. Right, there we go, tagged in. Quite a lot of momentum coming down though, which is a bit off-putting, but it's still a valid trade, so let's hold it. Okay, nice. That was very quick. So that was probably some sort of news event. Yeah, so FOMC, I imagine. But yeah, perfect trade. We had, like I said, the thought process behind that was after price had reacted from this 4-hour demand, we saw the push up into these highs. Notice how price started to pull back before sweeping the liquidity. So when I see a scenario like this, what I'm asking myself is, what is the purpose of this pullback? Very rarely when price leaves equal highs above like this, is this going to be, you know, price respecting the resistance for it to do a complete reversal. Most of the time, because of how most retail traders are trading, it's going to be to engineer more liquidity above for a pullback, for then price to go higher. In terms of the point of interest on this trade, it was a little bit messy, but I was basically monitoring the fact that price had taken Asia low. And then as for the confirmation, same as always, M5 change of character plus imbalance, entering on the imbalance, 1 to 3 mechanical TP, and it can be as simple as that. Now, moving on to the next trade here. We've obviously now had another break of the main structure, which was this one right here, and we can see price kind of approaching this area of daily supply. I want to be mindful of this area because that's where we could potentially see price reverse from, keeping in mind that the overall daily trend is still bearish until price breaks this high. That would be the current daily lower high. So let's see if we can get another buy up into that area. It's quite hard to trade scenarios like this because you just have this huge momentum and price doesn't typically pull back. So yeah, this is also the Asia session, so I'm going to jump to London. Okay, so what would be nice here would be if we can see price come down and grab Asia low into the imbalance. Yep, like that. Now let's monitor here for an entry. Still viewing this as a retracement. If it comes lower, we could maybe see price, retest into this demand zone, for example. I'm just going to mark that on. But yeah, one of the things I also like to do frequently is just kind of zoom out for some perspective and look to the left, ask yourself, is this an area where it's likely that price reverses from, or is this more likely to be a retracement for higher? In this case, I don't really see any reason why it should reverse from where it's tapped into to the left. There's no clear supply and there's no liquidity being taken out. So most probably this is going to be just a retracement for higher. So yeah, let's monitor here for an entry. Like that would be perfect. So we've had our change of character after the liquidity was taken. Now entering on the imbalance. So in this case, just below this last bit of liquidity before the imbalance. Obviously, you could wait for a refined entry from the demand itself. Actually, in this case, I'm going to wait for an entry on the refined demand. Reason being, just because I'm not really happy with the risk to reward if we're entering all the way up here. 25 pips as a stop loss is a bit too big in my opinion. So particularly when you're entering on lower time frame like this. So I'm going to set my limit here instead. Oh, there we go. Very nice. Perfect there. So price literally tapped us in by a pip. Hit take profit. And looks like it's reversed from there as well. Oh no, so wants to continue higher. This is, by the way, why I don't make my trades break even as well. I simply hold to stop loss or take profit because over my testing and years of trading this strategy live, I've actually found that it is more profitable to hold to stop loss or take profit than to make trades break even or to actively manage them. So yeah, nice. We've now had another main break structure. Once again, just looking to trade this up into the daily supply zone. If we jump to London. All right, cool. So in London, what would be nice if we can see price come down and sweep Asia lows. All right, no. So price has already tapped into that daily supply zone. So now that price has tapped into this daily supply zone, this is where I want to be a bit cautious and not really look for any buys anymore because I know this is an area where it's likely price reverses from and continues that overall macro trend. So here you can see, right, we've seen price come up into a premium of the daily bearish leg and has started to reject. Notice as well how coming up into this level, this could be quite interesting actually because this is also Friday. Typically, one major tip for you guys as well, I rarely hear anyone talk about this, is this idea of a Friday reversal. Typically, if price has gone in one direction all week long, as it has here, it's been bullish all week, on Fridays you're going to get a reversal because the logic behind this is that people in the buys are going to close their orders, which is the equivalent to selling, right? So you have selling pressure coming into the market, vice versa for if the week has been bearish. So yeah, let's monitor for an entry here. I'm happy to take sells if price presents them, obviously with our entry model as always. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Like that. We've now had a change of character to the downside. We've seen price create an area of supply. If we can see a retracement up into this area, I'm going to look for some shorts. 1 to 3 mechanical TP. All right, let's see if price pulls back into this area. Right, I want to be a bit careful here because you could also take the opposite perspective because price has tapped into this demand and swept some liquidity into it. But yeah, for now, the limit order is still valid, so I'm going to keep it active. Let's just play this on 15 so it's a bit quicker. Nope, so stop loss on that one. The level did not get respected. I think though, like, as long as price holds within this area of daily supply, this move here could have just been an inducement for the sells. So now that we've seen price re-grab this high, I'm going to be monitoring to get back in. Yeah, there. So you can see, swept the high to the left. Price is in this daily supply zone. We've had a change of character plus imbalance. On this one, like I said before, I'm not trying to get a sniper precise entry. I'm happy to enter basically market execution here with stops above the high and go for a 1 to 3. So let's enter this trade and see. There we go. Nice push so far. All right, no. So little loss on that one. That's fine. Obviously, this is where the risk to reward comes in as well, because even though we've now taken 2 losses, before that we had 2 wins for 6%. So we're still up 4%. I can still see the sells playing out from here though. Like price has come into this daily supply. So I'm thinking we might have just been too early. Yeah, there you go. So now that's a more convincing change of character on the M15 time frame. Right, so if we can get a push back up into the supply here, I'm happy to enter this. I'm on the M15 here, by the way, just because the structure on the M15 and M5 is the same, but the M15 here is a bit clearer. We're going to do a mechanical 1 to 3. Let's see if price pulls back for us. Damn, looks like it's just about missed us there. Yeah, I'm going to cancel this limit now. So now that we've seen price break structure again, I would now look at this area of supply, which is positioned quite nicely above the Asia height, to take price down into this opposing liquidity here. So let's see if price can pull back for us. And the breaker structure, by the way, I'm talking about was this one right here. All right, cool. So Asia high swept, price has come into this area of supply. Let's see if we can get an entry. Yep, there we go. That's nice because we've got also a lot of volume coming in here. Ideally, when we see a change of character, we want to see volume coming in like this. We've got this area of supply. Obviously, in this case, it's not worth entering market execution here because the stop would be huge. So I'm going to wait for a pullback into this area with my stop just a little bit above the high. If I just adjust this slightly, there we go. And 1 to 3 TP. Hopefully it can pull back for us. All right, there we go. We're tagged in. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, nice. There we go. So that puts an end to that little losing streak we had. Like I said, I was still confident in the sells. We were just slightly too early, annoyingly. We've now had another break of structure. Price is clearly gravitating towards that liquidity down here as well. Next potential area. I don't like the fact that we have these equal highs here. So I would maybe look for something like this. If price can re-grab these highs, trade back into the supply and then sell from there. Obviously with new confirmation from that area. Okay, no. So that idea played out perfectly, but this was obviously some sort of news event. Okay, so has that liquidity been taken out yet? Not yet. So this could be quite a nice opportunity, because notice how, again, price has paused just before taking out these lows. So again, the intent behind this is most likely going to be for it to engineer liquidity, for a pullback, for price to then head lower. In terms of points of interest here, I would look for anywhere kind of within this region. Sorry, wrong tool. Within this region, because this was kind of that supply zone which grabbed the highs to the left. So anywhere here, this would be quite nice. Yeah, I'm gonna just enter here. We've had our change of character. Actually, sorry, this is 9 p.m, so I wouldn't be entering this. So let's jump to London. All right, so London continued to push down and has created a new entry area. So now that we've had this change of character plus imbalance, I'm happy just to set a limit on this area here with my stop above this high. If it comes higher than that, I don't want to be in the trade. 1 to 3 TP, and let's see how this goes. No, so little loss on that one. Maybe we were just a bit too early. I'm going to consider getting back in, actually, because we've got price reacting from this kind of extreme, and it has grabbed Asia high into it. Yeah, so that's annoying. We were just a bit too early there, but there was no confirmation to get back in. So on to the next trade. Yeah, that's really annoying. So we were just a little bit too early with the entry there, and price has now come down and swept that liquidity level as well. So jumping over to the 4 hour, you can clearly see from that daily supply zone, we've now had price shift bearish. If we get rid of this internal structure, we've now clearly had price shift back bearish on 4 hour time frame. So what I would be looking for here would be, since it is overall bearish on daily time frame, we've had price come up into the extreme, and we've now had that very clear shift over to the downside. I would be looking for this to trade back towards the previous lows down here. So in terms of like points of interest, we do have this 4 hour supply. Obviously, after you've seen a big move down like this, you want some form of retracement. So yeah, let's see if price can pull back into there. There's not really anything I would sell from below that region. Yeah, so I was a bit too, I played price too quickly there, but this entry here would have been nice. I'm not really seeing anything I like at the moment. Price is kind of just consolidating below the supply. So last area I would consider here for the sells would be this 4 hour supply, which you can see price has taken out all of the liquidity in this range into. Yeah, I'm going to enter here. Entry model has been met. We've got our change of character plus imbalance. Again, I'm not looking for a sniper entry, so I'm just going to enter on the, like, anywhere here, market execution. Yeah, nice. There we go. So TP was hit on that one. Very nice. And it does now look like price wants to come back for the lows, which is nice because we have that clearer direction. In terms of the next point of interest, maybe if we can see price come back up into this area. Doesn't seem like it wants to do that. Let's have a look at another idea. Not really seeing anything else, to be honest. Yeah, again, same scenario as before. We've seen price come down, pause just before sweeping the low. So again, you've got to ask yourself, is this likely to be a reversal? Or is it just price pausing to engineer liquidity for a move lower? In this case, I think it's much more likely that this is just an engineer liquidity for price to head lower, right? So in terms of actual points of interest here, we have this supply just above the Asia high. That's my first idea. Next would probably be this 2-hour one or a sweep of it into the imbalance above. One of those two. Let's see how it reacts. Yeah, so it didn't respect that first one, so it's now heading for the next. All right, cool. So we've had a wick into the area. We've had our M5 change of character already. You can see very nice wick out of previous highs. Change of character. London Open has also swept Asia high, which is quite nice. And we've got this area supply. In this case, what I'm thinking, there's no point having stops all the way above the wick. So I would just position it around here because I think, if price doesn't respect the bottom of this sort of region here, it's probably going to head for the top of the wick anyway. So I'm going to enter here. 1 to 3 TP. Still valid at the moment. Let's see if it pulls back. Damn. I think it's just slightly missed us there. So again, we should have entered on that last liquidity before the imbalance instead. All right, cool. So next point of interest would be this one. If price can pull back and present a confirmation, I'm just basically looking now to follow this lower time frame structure down to the previous lows now that price has reacted from and held the higher time frame supply. So has reacted from this area, but there's no M5 structure for it to give a confirmation. Yeah, there you go. So price did end up breaking into new lows, but there was no confirmation. Maybe if we can see an entry from here. Yeah, like that would be quite nice. So we've had our change of character from the area plus imbalance. I'm going to enter on a pullback if we get one into that supply and go for a 1 to 3 again, as always. All right, no, so that's now invalid because price broke into new lows and created a new breaker structure. Yeah, nice. So London has pushed down and we've now seen a new breaker structure. We've also actually seen a break of this main low, which was that main 4-hour structure just here. All right, so still looking for more downside, but maybe expecting a retracement now after price has taken the main low out. In terms of points of interest, maybe if it can sweep Asia high. Something like that would be quite nice. And we've also seen it come into a supply. Let's see if we can get an entry here. Yeah, so I'm going to enter this. Change of character is not the cleanest, but just trading this strategy like purely mechanically, it is a valid trade. So I'm just going to enter. Yeah, nice. There we go. So TP hit on that one. The point of interest, by the way, I didn't really explain it, but it was this supply zone. And I saw that at London Open, we had price take out Asia high up here. So that was nice. And we've now had price break structure again. So once again, it's a simple system. I'm just looking to follow structure, looking to identify a point of interest that I think price could pull back into. And then I'm looking for my entry model, which is simply looking at lower time frame, or in my case, M5 structure. Right now, we could probably see price at least gravitate into this previous low. I don't really see any reason why it wouldn't get there. There's nothing really stopping it. So looking for another pullback. If we go to the following day, though, because this was late on Thursday. So yeah, conditions like this are very hard to trade because you can't get an entry according to our entry model. So there's not really anything you can do about that apart from just wait for other setups to align. Obviously, we don't need to trade every day and there will always be another setup. So no need to force anything. All right, Monday opens. We've had price kind of all the way down here. Maybe if we can see a retracement up into the supply. No, so still looks like it's... Yeah, there you go. So price has now taken out that main low as well. To the left just here. So when I see this, I want to be a bit careful because even though price is bearish, once that main liquidity has been taken, you expect some form of... So, yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, now this main low has been broken. Let's have a look for a retracement. I'm not really interested in trying to buy this. I'm just looking for a pullback for more sells. In terms of points of interest, I'm not really seeing too much at the moment. So I'm just going to observe price. Maybe this. So we've seen it come up, grab this last liquidity into the imbalance. Maybe as well the supply above. That's also another option if price comes higher. So for this to be a valid change of character, I want to see a closure below, not just a wick below. I'm going to skip this one. I'm not a fan of how it's kind of just moving back very slowly and correctively. No, so looks like I was right. Price continued down. The thing with this is that you could also read this as an hourly change of character after that daily liquidity was swept into the demand. Actually, I'm going to risk a buy here. Reason for this, we've come into the hourly demand. We've had our M5 entry model. Asia lows have been taken out. We've got this clear intent from price from the area. Let's see how this goes. Sniper entry at the moment. Hopefully price can continue pushing. I can see at least all of this getting taken, even if it is going to continue selling. Yeah, nice. There we go. So TP hit on that one. Basically, that's an example of, I always use the phrase react to price, don't predict it. That's a perfect example of me doing that because even though originally I was expecting sells from the liquidity, I saw price pulling down very slowly, correctively, react from hourly demand after this change of character. And also significantly here, we had this higher time frame low swept to the left. So I was expecting a deeper retracement. So yeah, perfect example of reacting to price, not predicting it. This area up here is still a valid sell zone, but you know, based on how this is formed now, you would at least expect price to probably head up into this high. So I'm going to look for a long up into that high if price can pull back. Maybe into Asia low, for example. So we've actually had... Yeah, so we've seen price... Actually, I'm not a fan of that. I'm going to leave it. Yeah, this could be nice. So now we've had price come all the way back down, sweep Asia low. We've seen quite an impulsive reaction from it. We've had our change of character. The only thing with this is that there's nowhere to enter from, right? Unless price pulls all the way back down here, for example, which I don't think it's going to do. Could be wrong. Let's have a look. Yeah, so ideally I would have liked to enter anywhere on this imbalance, but there's nowhere to put your stop loss if you do that. So yeah, let's wait and see if... Oh, spoke too soon. I was going to say let's wait and see if we can get some sells from that level. Sells do look to be playing out, but we have quite an impulsive reaction here, so it might not want to pull back. Again, the only place I can see to enter from here would be this supply up here, but I doubt it's going to pull all the way back up there. Yeah, there we go. So it's just continuing to sell off, really. And guys, if you did miss any of the other parts to this pound US dollar backtesting series, I'll put the playlist up here on the screen for you to watch next. I hope you found some value in this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.